Turkish clubs eyeing up last-minute deals for Casemiro and Antony. Chido Obi Martin update and the latest on Erik ten Hag. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this evening's show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 1,000 likes on this episode. And if this is the first time watching, please also subscribe to the channel. Currently, only 50% of people who watch our videos are subscribed. So if you're one of those who isn't currently subscribed, make sure you get involved. It's completely free content and everyone is welcome. Right. Now, let's jump straight on into it then, shall we? And let's start off the show by talking about both Casemiro and Antony. I nearly forgot his name there. So, the stories coming out this afternoon are that apparently Galatasaray are trying to sign Casemiro and Fenerbahce are trying to sign Antony. Now, you're probably sat there this evening thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? The transfer window's closed. How can they buy players? Well, interestingly enough, the Turkish transfer window doesn't close until the 13th of September. So they've got about another 9 days left until their windows close. And both of those two teams that I just mentioned are desperately trying to sign Antony and Casemiro. Now, would I do these deals? I don't know. It's a difficult one. If we could sell Antony and sell Casemiro for decent amounts of money, I would probably do that because I do think we have enough cover in our wing positions. Obviously, we've got Rashford, we've got Garnacho, we've got Ahmad, we've got a couple of players in the youth which I think could probably come through, and obviously Bruno Fernandes has played on the right before. We would be a little bit short, but I would be open to it because I think if we were able to do that, it would then mean in the January window we could go and strengthen, or alternatively, we could look at the free agent market because there are some semi-decent players who are available as free agents. So if we were to look at, say, let's have a look at right midfielders or right wingers. Let's look at right wingers. At the moment, because, I mean, we would probably need to look for a replacement. There's a couple of people who are available as right wingers. Nobody really stands out, though, if I'm honest. The probably the most highest profile attacking player who's available on the market at the moment is Memphis Depay. I wouldn't take Memphis Depay back at Manchester United though, personally, even if he was free. Other than that, it's no one really of extreme interest. Obviously, the biggest profile player who's available as a free agent at the moment is Adrien Rabiot, obviously having left Juventus. Also, you've got Memphis Depay, Matip, Ben Yedder, a couple of others as well. And there's actually a Turkish player which we've been linked to quite heavily today, which we're going to talk about in a minute, who apparently Manchester United are looking at potentially signing as a free agent. I don't think Antony's going anywhere personally. I think the likelihood of Casemiro leaving is a maybe. But yeah, it's probably a little bit unlikely at the moment. Obviously, at least with Casemiro, we know that we could go and sign Rabiot. We know that Rabiot is available, although Fabrizio said that apparently Manchester United, aren't currently pursuing a deal for Rabiot. But I think, if we were to let Casemiro go, things probably would change in that regard. Obviously, if Casemiro was to leave, we would need to strengthen the midfield position, really, wouldn't we? So, yeah, it's definitely two deals to keep an eye on. So, just to give you a bit of a roundup on those two stories, it's coming up from multiple different journalists, mainly in Turkey, saying that apparently Galatasaray are trying to sign Casemiro, and then similar Turkish journalists saying that apparently Fenerbahce are trying to sign Antony. Now, the stories are saying that it looks like it would be a loan. Whether or not there's an obligation to buy or not remains to be seen. Would I loan those two players out without an obligation to buy? Probably not. It seems kind of pointless. I think if you could loan them out with an obligation to buy next summer, I would do that. I would probably take about 25 million for Antony. And I'd probably take at this point, I don't even know, for Casemiro now. He's 32, 350k a week wages. I think if you were selling him to Saudi, you'd probably look for 30 to 40 million. If he was going to Turkey, I think you'd be lucky to get maybe 20 million on a loan with an obligation to buy. But in hindsight, I probably would take 20 million for Casemiro at this stage. I would, genuinely, because I think if you factor in his wages as well, £350,000 a week, it's about £20 million a year in wages. So if we were able to get rid of him now, say for a fee of 20 million to Turkey, that would be 20 million transfer fee, 20 million wages this summer, and 20 million wages next summer. So it'd be 60 million pounds that you'd effectively be benefiting from if you were to let him go for as little as 20 million pounds, right? Which I know seems like a bit of a small amount of money, 20 million for Casemiro. But I think for me personally, you know, when you look at his wages, you look at the ability he has at this point in his career, you look at the massive decline that he's kind of seen happen to him over the last 12 months, I think you probably have to start just thinking about cutting your losses and trying to, you know, recoup some of the money that Man United have effectively spent it on him. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. In relation to Antony, I think the likelihood of him leaving is probably quite small. Yeah, I just think that, you know, Man United at this point will probably hope that Antony will come good. I don't see it personally. I don't think Antony's good enough for Manchester United. I don't think he's even going to really get any game time at Manchester United, to be honest, because obviously you've got Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad ahead of him. I mean, obviously if someone gets injured, maybe he'll get some game time. Like, I would love for Antony to have a good season. I would love for him to have a go. I would love for him to, you know, to really make his mark on this Manchester United side. I just don't see it, though. I just don't see him as a Premier League level footballer. I don't see him as a Manchester United level footballer. He has a bit of flair to him, but I think generally, I just think he's very, very average. Is that the fault of Erik ten Hag? You know, is that bad coaching? Maybe. That's a conversation for another day. But overall, for me, I think both of these players we need to look to move on very, very quickly. Whether that's Casemiro, whether that's Antony, I think both of them, you know, need to be shown the door. Do I think it will happen this summer? Probably not. As I said, I think the likelihood of Casemiro leaving is probably more likely than Antony. Like, Man United clearly want to do something with Casemiro. They clearly want to attempt to sell him. But it's just whether they've got a buyer out there. And obviously, it seems like Galatasaray are interested, but I think they just see it more as an opportunity. I think Galatasaray see it as a potential that they could get someone for a really good price, opposed to Manchester United actually getting themselves a good deal. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Obviously, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Manchester United should sell Casemiro? Do you think they should sell Antony? Let me know your thoughts. I assume most people would say yes, but I'd be interested to see what you all have to say. I wanted to do a little poll as well on the manager, because we haven't done one of these in a while. And maybe people will say this is too early, but I want to get, you know, a bit of a vibe. So we'll just do it as simple as this. Erik ten Hag in or Erik ten Hag out? I like to see how the Manchester United fan base are thinking. So, you know, this isn't a preloaded question. I'm genuinely interested on what you think about Erik ten Hag. So get involved in the poll. Erik ten Hag in or Erik ten Hag out? You know, I've been a massive supporter of Erik ten Hag. I really like him. I think he's brought back some level of winning trophies, which we didn't see under Ollie. We didn't see, obviously, under Ralph Rangnick. We didn't win a trophy for, 6 years? And then he comes in and we win 2 trophies back to back. But I think the more it goes on, the harder it is to defend Erik ten Hag. I will admit that. And I don't think it's all his fault, by the way. I don't think it is all his fault. I think, you know, we still have, in my opinion, a very, very average squad. And I'm not blaming the squad. And tactics are obviously part of it. Maybe Erik ten Hag isn't, you know, doesn't have the right mentality to be a Man United manager. I don't know. You know, I'm not on the training ground. I don't watch them train. I don't know what he says to the players. All I see is what I see on the pitch. And I think that, as I said to you on the show yesterday, I still would stick with Erik ten Hag personally. But I think when you look at our next kind of 3 or 4 fixtures, we spoke about this yesterday. We've got Southampton away. Southampton will fancy their chances against us. Of course they will. We lost to Brentford 4-0 a couple of seasons ago. No one expected that to happen. Anything can happen these days. We lost to Crystal Palace 4-0 last season. So our next 4 games are Southampton away, then Crystal Palace away, who we lost 4-0 to last year, then Tottenham at home, who are a decent side, and then you've got Aston Villa away. And I look at those 4 games and I think, the way I am now as a Manchester United fan is, we could either win all of them or we could lose all of them. And I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but do you really think Manchester City fans look at their fixtures and go, oh, we could win all of them or lose all of them? They're confident they'll beat every single team, won't they? Arsenal fans think they'll beat every single team. I would say Liverpool fans probably think they'll beat every single team. And there's some people in the Man United fan base, some fans that still cling on to this blind faith that Man United should beat every single team. And maybe that's right. That's what happened under the great Sir Alex Ferguson. But I just don't think that's the reality anymore for Manchester United. And I think that no matter who the manager is, I still think we're going to struggle. And that's why I've been kind of sticking with Erik ten Hag, because I think, even if you go and get a Thomas Tuchel in now, I still don't think we're going to go from here to here by changing the manager. I think it's like a 2 or 3 year plan where, we're getting up people like Maguire. Maguire will go next summer. McTominay is gone. I imagine Rashford will probably leave in the next few years. Like, he's clearly not, like, I just can't see him staying, to be honest. Casemiro will clearly leave. The defence is looking a little bit better by way of the signings, De Ligt, Martinez, Dalot, etc. I think Onana will probably be moved on as well, to be honest. And I think that it's a really difficult one because I think, with Erik ten Hag, there is some positives, but there's also some negatives. Obviously the positives are that he won 2 trophies in his first 2 years. He got us 3rd place in the Premier League, which was a great success after finishing, I think, 7th the year before. So he has done some good, but overall, I think at the moment, the mood in the fan base is kind of shifting. And I think that the next 4 games are absolutely massive for Erik ten Hag, I hope and pray that Erik ten Hag goes and beats Southampton and Crystal Palace, and then we go into that Tottenham game after winning 2 in a row and we beat them, and then we go to Aston Villa and we beat them. Like, I want nothing more than that, but I don't know. I'm just worried at the moment. I'm worried for him. I'm worried about the next 4 games. I'm worried that the team isn't good enough. I'm worried that that Manuel Ugarte apparently isn't ready until October, I heard. I mean, that's a concern in itself. Apparently he's not going to be match fit until October. Manuel Ugarte. Like, yeah, it's not great, is it? And I think that, as I said on my show, I think maybe this morning or the day before, like, there is this obsession that Man United would never let Erik ten Hag go because of the money it would cost to remove him. But as I've said to you guys before, like, the amount of money that you can make by finishing in different positions in the Premier League is vast. And we still have this underlying suspicion that, Ineos were looking at other managers. The thing that scares me the most about all this, though, is Gareth Southgate is waiting for that Manchester United job. And if Gareth Southgate comes in, I just think it's going to go even worse. And I know some people are like, I don't see how it could be worse, but it definitely can be worse than what it is now. We've won the FA Cup in May, 2 months ago. Arsenal have won 1 trophy in 6 years, and they're, we're told that Arsenal are this world-class team. They've won 1 trophy in 6 years. So it could get a hell of a lot worse. And I think that they've got to be very, very careful on what the next decision is that they do. And it seems like the trend at the moment is, for people to turn on the manager. And maybe that's right, Maybe we should be turning on the manager. Maybe he's not good enough. But I still just hold on to this belief that, obviously Erik ten Hag makes mistakes, but you look at the team that started against, say, Liverpool, or the team that started against Fulham, right? You look at the team that started against Fulham. Every single player in that starting 11, apart from Mazraoui, was here last year, right? And I've said this to you before, like, we need 2 or 3 windows to get us into a position where we've got like a whole new squad. Chelsea did it in 1 window, didn't they? They spent $500 million and bought like 20 players. That's what we needed to do this summer. And I'm not saying that Manchester United should have done that, because obviously we're running things differently to how Chelsea are. But we pretty much did need to completely overhaul the squad. We've made a pretty solid dent in it, obviously with people like McTominay going, etc., etc. But I still think a lot of work needs to be done before we're in a position to be like, right, we have a perfect squad. Let's go and compete. Like, I just don't see it. And I think that's why I've said before, like, I don't really feel... Obviously, I'm disappointed when Man United lose, but I go into every game these days thinking we could lose, And I was talking to someone earlier about this. I remember 2 years ago, we played Brentford, the second game of the season. We just lost 1-0, I think it was, to Brighton at home in the first game. We went and played Brentford away, and we lost 4-0. And I remember after that game, I was absolutely deflated. It ruined my weekend. It ruined all of the rest of my day. You know, I went and had to do social things afterwards, and I was completely miserable because I went into that Brentford game 2 years ago thinking, we're Man United. We should beat Brentford away from home. We should beat anybody. You know, we're the best team in the world. You know, that kind of whole false belief that we've had from the dream-like days under Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think after that moment, something just clicked for me, and it was like, we are not Manchester United anymore, if that makes sense. We're not the Manchester United that we think we are. Like, we're a team that on our day can beat anybody, but we are also a team that on our day can lose to anybody. Whereas that's the difference. Obviously, the great teams like Man City, they beat everybody. You know, they don't lose. I mean, they might lose 1 or 2 games in a season, but you know, 95% of the time, Man City will go and win or draw at the very worst case scenario, right? Whereas Man United, I'm worried about that Southampton game on a week on Saturday. And I know some people are like, how could you be worried about that? I don't know, I just am. And I wouldn't even say it's worry. It's like, it's a sense of just falling to reality, you know? Because effectively, we've seen nothing to make us think differently. All we get is disappointment. And once you just accept the disappointment, and I know that's not good enough, but it was the same under Ollie, it was the same under Ralph Ragnick, it was the same under Mourinho, it was the same under Van Gaal. Like, we've had these freak results, and it happens time and time again. The players come out and say, we will do better, we will learn from this, we will bounce back. They might win a game, and then 2 games later, they go and lose to somebody they should be beating, you know? So I've kind of gone past the point a little bit now, and I know that sounds maybe a little bit doom and gloom, but obviously that's just my honest opinion. Like, I'm not sure that, you know, bringing in a Thomas Tuchel or bringing in a Gareth Southgate is going to make a hell of a lot of difference. You might make a little bit of a bounce. You might win a couple of games in a row. But I think the rot in this club is still there. Obviously, we've got the new people in now, but they've only been here for 6 months. It's going to take them years and years and years and years to, you know, to fully sort things out. And I think that, yeah, it is a depressing thought. And I'm sorry to you know, to maybe be a bit of a mood dampener, but that's just how I honestly feel at the moment about everything. I just, and I think that a lot of Man United fans, if they really look in themselves in the mirror and really kind of hear what I'm saying, and they take away all of their agenda, you know, all of the reaction, all of that kind of stuff from it, like, and you look at the facts and you look at everything I've just said in that kind of little section, you can't really disagree, can you? We haven't won a Premier League in 10 years, like, or even longer. Is it 11 years now? Why do we have this divine right that we should beat every single team? You know, and we tell ourselves we're Manchester United. We should beat everybody. And if we lose to somebody, we scream at the screen and say, you know, it's a disgrace, sack the manager, blah, blah, blah. Like, in 12 months' time, we'll be back in the same position and we'll be scratching our heads. Big ups to Fred, by the way. He's just gifted 5 memberships to the Daily Red Devil Members Club. I hope you're doing well, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Anybody who's been gifted a membership, please do make sure to say thank you. But yeah, what I'm always going to try and do on this channel is just be level-headed, to be realistic, to give you my truth. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is, you know, that if you think differently, that you're wrong. I just think that people cling on to these hopes, and it's like, if Ten Hag gets sacked, we'll be a good team again. But we've tried that. We did that with Mourinho. It didn't work. We did that with Van Gaal. It didn't work. We did that with Moyes. It didn't work. Ollie, it didn't work. And I'm not saying that means that we keep him purely for that reason. I'm just saying that, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying exactly, to be honest. And it's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad, but that's the reality. And all I'm trying to say to you is, right, if you just bring yourself down to planet Earth and you kind of lose that sense of entitlement that we have as Man United fans. We have no reason to be entitled anymore. We don't. We have no reason to be entitled. So, yeah, the thing with me is, right, I said this in the summer, so I'm not really surprised. I said that I think Man United will finish between 6th and 8th. That's what I thought. That was my honest opinion in the summer. Because I still think that we're so far away from the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Man City. So I'll be honest, I'm not really particularly surprised with what's going on. I would stick with Erik Ten Hag. I wouldn't sack him, because the point I'm trying to make here, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, right? I don't think any other manager is going to make much difference immediately. They might make a difference in the long run, but I don't think, Thomas Tuchel comes in and takes us from 8th to 1st. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does. Maybe Erik ten Hag is rubbish. Maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. But I don't believe it. I think that there is a lot more work that needs to be done before we're anywhere in a position to be kind of like challenging or anywhere near that kind of position. I've seen people on my timeline on Twitter saying that, you should bring back Ollie and that Ollie's football was better. It's like, Ollie won nothing. He was here for what, 4 years? He won 0 trophies. He failed many, many times. So, yeah. My expectation still remains the same for this season. I think Man United should win the Europa League. There's no excuses. We've shown that we can do it in the cups. We won the League Cup. We won the FA Cup. I think we're a strong cup side. I think if we get through the group in the Europa League, I think we could easily go on and win it. Because the best team in the Europa League, other than us, let's have a look at the odds, right? Let's have a look. Europa League winner, 2024 odds. Yeah, so Man United are the favourites to win the Europa League. I'll read it out to you. So Manchester United are the favourites. Then it's Tottenham. Then it's Roma. Then it's Real Sociedad. Then Athletic Bilbao, FC Porto, Lazio, and Frankfurt. We are currently at the very, very top of the odds to win the Europa League. Does that mean we'll win it? No, of course it doesn't. These are just bookies' odds. But we are currently the favourites to win the Europa League. And my expectation is still that Man United should be winning the Europa League this season. There's no excuses not to win the Europa League, I don't think. It's a cup competition. Ten Hag's proven that he can, go far in cup competitions. He got to the League Cup in the first year. Yeah, in his first season, he got to the League Cup, won the League Cup final. Then he got to the FA Cup final, lost that. And then we won the FA Cup final last year. So in the cup competitions, Erik ten Hag's done very, very well. Obviously, in the Champions League, we did terribly. But in the cup competitions, we were very convincing. So my expectation remains the same. I think we will finish 6th to 8th. Is that good enough? I think it's good enough for where we are at the moment. Is it where I want to be? Of course it isn't, but you have to be realistic. You have to look at it from a level-headed perspective. We can sit here and scream that we should be, finishing 2nd or 3rd. Why? Why should we be finishing 2nd or 3rd? Based on what? Based on the fact that we're Manchester United and we have this divine right to be in the top 4 every season. I mean, that's not how the world works. That's not how the Premier League is anymore. It's so competitive. There's so many good players, so many good managers, so many good coaches, so many good, even like the Aston Villas, the Brightons, the Newcastles, like all of these teams are better than they were a decade ago. Like, who would have thought a decade ago that Brighton would be the team they are now? Who would have thought Aston Villa would be? Like, you didn't. They were easy teams that you'd play and you'd beat. Whereas now, Aston Villa have got a side as good as ours. Brighton's team on its day is as good as ours. Newcastle's is. Like, all of the teams in and around the top 4 are decent. Very, very decent. And it's not easy anymore. Whereas in the Europa League, I still think we're comfortably better than most of those teams that I've just listed off to you. Like Real Sociedad, Lazio, like Frankfurt. Like, they have got a couple of good players, but not on the level of teams in the Premier League who, like, you look at Aston Villa's side, they've got like Ollie Watkins, they've obviously got, they've just signed Onana, they've got Pau Torres, they've got Martinez. Like, they've got an amazing team. So yeah, I'm not really feeling that kind of doom and gloom about everything at the moment. And I'm sorry if it comes across like that. That's just how I feel. Yeah, I'm putting all of my eggs in the Europa League basket. That's what I'm hoping we win. I would be happy with that. I would. I just think we're not ready at the moment. But Chris says, thank you for being level-headed. I'm fed up of other people bashing Ten Hag. He deserves at least this whole season. It's painful to watch ATM, but I'm sick of sacking managers and rinse and repeat. I said this on my show a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? Where I had this like moment of realization, and I'm not trying to, disrespect other people because obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I had this moment of realization where I think if, I don't know. I don't know how to say this. I just had this realization that you have to be more like reactive, And I think if you're reactive, generally, it brings in more of an audience, because I think a lot of the time rival fans go on there to laugh at them, realistically, because that's probably it, isn't it? Like if Man United lose, I bet you loads of rival fans come and watch the fan channels because they're like laughing at the people who are screaming at their camera and all the rest of it. So yeah, I just give you my honest opinion. Maybe, I can't tell you how other people are feeling and all the rest of it, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna change my stance on how I feel just because it might get me, rival fans watching to laugh at me. Like, I'm not really that fussed about that. But I try and be level-headed because that's just who I am as a person. I try and look at things from both perspectives. I try and bring what I feel is an honest opinion towards things. Maybe I'm wrong. Only time will tell. I don't know. I appreciate your comment. And obviously, some people will watch this content and be like, oh, this guy's boring. He's not, like, I don't know, smashing up the set behind me or, smashing up the camera or whatever. Like, because that is entertaining. I get it. It is entertaining. If I started throwing things around my room, right, smashing things up, people would be like, this is amazing. This is great. Let's laugh at this guy. But that's not really what this channel's for. It's just like, it's just me giving my honest view and letting you have an opportunity without any kind of judgment to have yours as well. That's the purpose of this channel. Maybe I'd get more views if I did it differently, but I'm not really that bothered about doing that, to be honest. I'm quite happy just, doing it as it is. People seem to like it. Some people don't like it. That's obviously fine. And obviously all the other people, I'm not throwing shade on other people. I'm just, that's just how I feel. Let's see what else people saying in the comments section. Some people saying, I wish we could bring back Sir Alex Ferguson. Oh, mate, that would be amazing. But I mean, let's just let Sir Alex Ferguson enjoy his retirement and chill, Sadiq says Brighton have improved. West Ham, Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea have all improved. Yeah, of course, mate. It's so competitive now. So competitive. Very different. What else have we got here? Let's see what people are saying. Elite Baller says, Kieran, you are being realistic, not negative. Yeah, I'd say I'm being realistic. I'm not trying to paint any negativity at all. Like, I didn't think we'd beat Liverpool, to be honest. I thought we could go and give Brighton a game, and we did. So I was actually really happy after watching the Brighton game. I remember I did a match reaction after the Brighton game. I had about 100 people unsubscribe from me because they were so angry with my level-headedness, where I thought that we actually played all right against Brighton and we were unlucky. And they were like, what are you talking about? Like, we should be beating Brighton. And I was like, well, Brighton are a good side. Brighton have good players. They're a hard team to beat away from home. I think Erik ten Hag's lost 3 times out of 4 against Brighton. They're not an easy side to beat. I mean, Brighton just went and drew with Arsenal at the Emirates, Arsenal are supposedly title challengers. We literally lost that game against Brighton with 30 seconds left to go, and we should have won the game after Xerxes obviously was in the way for the offside goal. We were literally 1 inch away from taking the lead in that game and winning. What I'm saying is, right, I think the future does look bright for Manchester United. Let's kind of summarise this bit of the show. I think the future does look bright. I think it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be ups and downs, but I think in the long run, Manchester United will get there. I think we have the right people running the football side of things, and I think that eventually it will come good. We've just got to be patient. We do. And I know it's frustrating. I know football is an escapism for a lot of people. You have a long week at work, you sit down on the weekend, you get a pint of beer if you drink. Obviously, if you don't drink, then you don't drink. But you have a beer, you go and sit with your mates, and then you lose a football game, and it's devastating. I get it. It's hard. It's really, really tough. And I think that people don't really seem to understand how much football means to people. And I get it. It's really, really tough. And I understand. Like I said to you, 2 years ago, after we lost 4-0 to Brentford, I was angry. I was upset. And this is a strong word, but I'd even go as far as saying I felt depressed after that game. It ruined my weekend. It ruined my day. I went out. I was quiet. I didn't feel sociable. And then after that, I just said, like, obviously I'm going to be annoyed in the future, but I just think that this is the reality for Manchester United now. We're not the team that we were anymore. And yeah, I think once you kind of realise that, then the pain becomes a little bit less. And maybe you become a little bit more level-headed about it all. But let's see what else people are saying. But in short, just to summarize that bit of the section, because I can give answers that appeal to both people. That's my honest opinion. But if I'm going to predict the future, which I don't know if any of you want me to, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not convinced that Erik ten Hag will be here by Christmas, to be honest. Do I want that to happen? I don't know. I like Erik ten Hag. I think he's brought trophies, and that's what we're here for. But I think he'll probably be gone by Christmas. I just think I look at the next 3 games, right? And as I said to you, I don't have this divine right in me anymore to be like, we're Manchester United, we should beat anybody. I'm scared to go and play Southampton away from home. Every team wants to beat Manchester United at the moment. Every team thinks they can beat Manchester United at the moment. If Southampton get an early goal and the crowd get behind them, anything could happen. You then go to Selhurst Park the week after. We lost 4-0 there last season. Selhurst Park is one of the most hostile environments in the Premier League. That's not going to be easy. And then you come to Old Trafford and you have to play Tottenham, who are a good side with a good manager, good players, good squad. That's going to be hard. And then after that, you have to go to Villa Park and play Aston Villa. Like 10 years ago, under Sir Alex Ferguson, you'd look at those 4 fixtures and you'd say Southampton win, Crystal Palace win, Tottenham win, Aston Villa win. And that's 1, because Sir Alex was the greatest manager of all time. 2, because we had the best squad in the Premier League. And 3, because the competition was way less. There was less money in the Premier League. And Aston Villa weren't very good. Tottenham were Tottenham. Crystal Palace weren't great. Southampton weren't great. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the level has gone up massively. And Manchester United have just kind of become stagnant. They haven't improved. They've just been the same over the last decade. Whereas you then see teams like Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, all taking that next leap. And we've tried sacking managers. We've tried sacking Mourinho. Nothing got any better. We sacked Oli. We won 2 trophies, to be fair, with Erik ten Hag. But people are still unhappy. They're not satisfied with that. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for you. And I think that... I don't know. I don't know. I've gone off on a bit of a rant today. And it's kind of the opposite of some of the other rants you see. Like, it's a rant, but I think it's a more realistic rant, you know? I just don't honestly believe that you bring in a new manager and we suddenly, after a decade, go from where we are now to winning the league. Like, I just don't believe that for a second. And I don't think Man United fans are patient enough to give... I mean, think of it like this, right? Arteta's been at Arsenal for, 6 years? He still hasn't won the Premier League. He's won 2 trophies. 1 trophy even. He's won the FA Cup and that's it. Let's put it this way, right? Erik ten Hag's been here for 2 seasons and he's won 2 trophies. Arteta's won 1. Imagine if Erik ten Hag was here for 6 years and he didn't win any, and he'd only won 1 trophy. He would have been sacked years before that. And I'm not saying that's the right or wrong answer. Like, we'll never know, will we? But yeah, I just think that we're maybe a little bit too impatient. We expect too much. But that's obviously because we've been spoiled as Man United fans. So yeah. In relation to Chido Obi Martin, I can see people asking about that in the comment section. Apparently, Chido Obi Martin will be announced in a couple of weeks. Apparently it was going to take 6 weeks for this sport court to go through and kind of confirm the deal. This was because we signed him for free from Arsenal. If a player's under a certain age, you have to kind of get permission from this like external body. It looks like that will now go through, so that's good. Yeah, I'm excited to see him. Chido Obi Martin looks like a quality talent. Hopefully he comes in. Hopefully he gets some game time in the next kind of couple of years. But I'm going to wrap the video up here. If that feels like a good point to end the video. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. You know, there was a lot of honesty there. There was a lot of, you know, just me speaking from the heart. Some people might not like that. Some people might like it. That's obviously up to you if you do enjoy it. But I'll be back tomorrow at 8:30. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Please do make sure to like the video before you go. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely evening, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.